Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
You are listening to the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1230 WBZT. Back with us again, Dr. Elaina George. I'm sure you're familiar with her. She's a medical doctor, otolaryngologist. Forgive my pronunciation there. I never get that one right. And I've taken Latin, but I still can't get it right. She's telling the truth about what's happening in the medical industry, Obamacare, and the government, why things are so screwed up. We're thrilled to have her back on the show. Dr. George, welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, so things are getting bad even before, theoretically, Obamacare has even kicked in.
I know. I'm of the mindset that this is not just by accident. I think this has been planned to be such a disaster. And if you really think about it, maybe their goals are actually being met. They want to break the private insurance industry. They want people to be thrown off their insurance because the only arms that they hope are waiting are the government so that you can join their single-payer system. And quite frankly, I think the single-payer may have already started. The fact that the government is going to give the insurance company money to cover people that they don't even know where the nuts and bolts are is single-payer. I mean, whoever controls the purse strings controls the healthcare system.
Yeah, it's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. And there's a term out there that a friend of mine told me recently, and I don't know if you've ever heard it, but for people who are on Medicaid who show up at the emergency rooms to get a cold treated or whatever treatment, they call them sposers. Did you ever hear of that?
I have.
You have. Now, that's like a carefully guarded term nobody speaks about. Do you know where that came from?
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, but it's one of those things that's passed down as you train. The system, I'm not happy with the way the system has been delivered, but what's going on now is a completely different ballgame, and what people think they're going to get, it's never going to happen. I knew this from the beginning. You can't cover 30 million people, promise them more, and then tell them they're going to pay less. It was never going to happen, and now we're seeing that bear fruit.
Yeah, that reminds me of, who was it, Herbert Hoover's campaign pledges in the 28 election, I guess it was, 2 cars in every garage, a chicken in every pot, and we wound up with the Great Depression. And here, we're getting the same thing because, look, you can't abdicate your role as a medical consumer and shift it over to the government or the medical industry. You are responsible for your own health. Now, granted, you're in a car accident, you get banged up, smashed up. That's where the Western medical system really excels, in critical care, in trauma care. But in terms of you maintaining your health, Western medicine really isn't very good at these chronic conditions, is it?
Well, I think it's morphed into a system that's about just maintaining your health. As long as you can take a pill daily, that's what the move has been towards. It's not towards wellness. It's a disease-driven system. And the fact that we've allowed a third party, a middleman, to be inserted into the healthcare system is what's caused this. It's no longer the doctor and the patient deciding healthcare and how it's delivered. It's the insurance companies. It's the government. It's the people who actually are the gatekeepers of the system that drive it. They want you. If you think about how health insurance works, they want you to pay a premium, and they want you not to access it. So the money goes one way, but not the other. And that runs counter to delivering healthcare. This is not like a car insurance. It's about your health. It's about human cost. And people have ceded their power to an entity, hoping that they care about them and that they're going to take care of them. My mantra is nobody cares more about you than you. And you cannot depend on someone who's making a profit to care about your individual health needs. They're thinking about the bottom line. and they're mutually exclusive at this point.
Hey, you know what that reminds me of, Dr. George? I belonged to a health club in New York many, many years ago called the Vertical Club, and they had over 10,000 members, and they sold, they had promotions, they had discounts just to get you to sign up and pay an initiation fee and a monthly membership fee. And then the entire system was slanted at getting you to not show up, because if everybody showed up at once, they would have had a riot there, because the facility at the most could handle maybe 750 people. If they had 10, 15,000 members show up at once, they would have had a riot. They would have had to call out the National Guard to put down the riot because they couldn't handle all the members. That's what your medical system is designed. Get people to sign up, pay their premiums, and then never use it, right? That's what the system's all about.
That's why they love the young people, the young quote-unquote invincibles, because they pay a premium and never access the system. And if you really think about this critically, most people who pay for health insurance who are otherwise healthy may see their doctor maybe once a year, maybe twice. You can pay up to $15,000, $20,000 as a premium, never see the doctor, maybe pay $400 tops, in terms of the value. And the insurance company pockets it, never to be seen again. I mean, if they really had some real worthy reforms in there, this would stop. I mean, I think that if they really cared about people's health and about cost control, they could have done this in a much better way than breaking the entire system, throwing up to 100 million people off their health insurance. If they really wanted to cover 30 million people, they could have done this in a much cheaper manner. They have no interest in that. They want the power to the monetary, the freedom of choice to go from the patient and the doctor to the government. And it's working, unfortunately.
Yeah, and on your blog, you propose your own method of how you cover people and cover them adequately and protect them against what's going to happen here, right?
Absolutely. I think the power should be with the patient and the doctor. And I'm a small business. I'm a solo practitioner. There's more of us than there are people who work for hospitals at this point. I know it's changing a little bit, but for the most part, most healthcare is delivered by small groups. If they were to make it easy for us to take care of our patients and not be put in the poorhouse, we would do it. And one of the things that I would recommend, easy, is to allow us to write off bad debt. If a patient doesn't pay me right now, I just ate that. I can't write it off. I can't get a tax return or a reprieve on it. I just have to take it. And that means that I'm less likely to see patients that that may not be able to pay me right away, or I have to send them to collections. That would stop if they change the tax code. We would see a lot more people for free because we'd actually get a benefit at the end. Or maybe if they would allow doctors to write off some of their malpractice insurance premiums if they see a certain percentage of patients for free. So you actually end up getting people seen with excellent health care. Everybody wins, doesn't cost anybody very much of anything, and the patients get excellent health care. Isn't that the goal, right? Tort reform would be a nice thing, so that if someone's bringing a frivolous suit, that they're on the hook for it. Right now, there's no harm or foul. You can bring a suit, not pay a dime, ruin somebody's career and their reputation, and nothing happened to you. It's just a payday. It's like a lotto. So things like that would be easy to change. The Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, called EMTALA. It's what happens with the ERs. People can walk into an ER under this rule. They have to be treated whether or not it's an emergency. And people have taken advantage of that. That's one of the reasons that people use the ER as their primary care center. Well, maybe they should start really, prioritizing emergencies. I've actually had to go into the ER at 3 a.m. to remove earwax from somebody who decided they wanted to come in there because it was less volume and it was cheaper. Well,
That's
I shouldn't
insane.
have to do that. Yeah, it is
That's
insane,
nuts.
but I had to see them.
Or if you have a sinus infection, you go to the ER. Hey, I want to go back to something you said here. So somebody stiffs you for an office visit, $150, their check bounces, whatever. You mean to tell me it's uncollectible? You still have to count that as income? You can't write it off?
I cannot write it off.
But you're the only industry in the country that can't write off a bad debt. What is that about?
Very good point. Yeah, I understand. I have a conversation with my tax person every year about that, but I can't. And I can tell you that I've written off or just had to eat $30,000, $40,000 per year. And when I was seeing Medicaid patients, it was higher. So I had to stop doing it because I couldn't stay open and afford to give the kind of care to everybody that I wanted to. It comes down to being able to stay open, pay your rent, pay your mortgage, pay your people, either your payroll, or see patients and practice the Hippocratic Oath and see patients without regard to whether they can pay you.
And then when the insurance companies say, oh yeah, we'll pay that, and then they don't pay you a large percentage of the time as well.
Exactly. I can tell you the government is notorious for that. Medicaid has been one of the worst payers, not only in terms of the amount that they pay you, but when they decide to pay you, it could be years later.
Sure.
I had to when I left, I was owed well over $40,000, never to be seen again. But I gave the service. I did the surgery. I saw the patient. I provided the medical care, and I got stiffed. And if the government can do that, and the private insurance companies can do that, but the doctors will have to take it. Trust me, doctors won't do that very much. And that's where we stand now, that people have to go to the ER, that they have to go to big groups that are under the control of hospitals because they can afford to absorb that. They actually have an access to people, to a pot from the government for people who can't afford to pay. Private doctors don't. And, just to show you the inequality here, in California, they have the lowest Medicaid payer rate in the whole country. And they dropped the doctor's payment by 10%. Just the private doctors now, not the hospitals, not anybody who's associated with a big clinic, but just the private doctors. So we are actually on the front line getting a shaft, yet we provide the most care, the independent doctors, to everybody in this country.
It's a tax. That is a tax on private physicians. And we're going to talk more about this, Dr. George, up next on the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com, 1230 WBZT. These are tough times, and they're getting even tougher. The clock is ticking. The countdown to collapse is well underway. What are you going to do about it? Will you just wait for it to happen, or will you be ready when it happens? The decision is yours, and yours alone. Join myself, Mickey Fulp, Robert Ian, David Morgan, Jeff Berwick, Elijah Johnson, Alan Butler, Gregory Manarino, Daniel Amaduri, Andy Hoffman, Tekoa De Silva, Trace Mayer, one of the world's leading Bitcoin authorities, Bix Weir, Jay Taylor, and Gary Christensen at the Liberty Mastermind Symposium in Las Vegas on February 21st and 22nd, and learn how to create your plan to survive the collapse. The last Liberty Mastermind Symposium was one of the most highly rated conferences ever, and this one promises to be even better. Don't miss it. Join us and register now at libertymastermind.us. libertymastermind.us. This one is going to be out of this world, and it's going to be even better because it's in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to Liberty Mastermind US and sign up today. We're back on the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz. We're speaking with Dr. Elaina George, someone who really knows the system backwards and forwards, on 1230 WBZT. So, Dr. George, basically everyone says, these doctors are rich, they can afford it, but you're being taxed not just being in the highest tax bracket on the state and federal tax brackets. You got all these medical taxes, and then you're forced to get taxed again, both by the insurance companies and the state, who holds back money that you should be getting, and the patients stiff you, and you can't write that off. And they expect you to just keep on going and taking it. And we see a lot of your fellow practitioners saying, screw it, I'm going to start a concierge practice where I'll take the high-end patients and they'll just pay me X amount per year, and I'll see a limited number of them and I won't have to work as hard. Or they just say, I'm just going to take cash from my patients. I'm going to do away with insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacade, and that's what it really is, Obamacade. And I'm not going to need as many employees to process and harass the insurance companies and fight with them. And that's a model that more and more physicians are adopting, isn't it?
It is, and I think it should be the wave of the future. Real free market medicine. And it actually already exists. People don't know this, and they don't understand this. But it's cheaper to access healthcare without your insurance company as the middleman than it is just to make a deal with the doctor. I have a kind of a hybrid practice, so I see self-pay patients. I barter. Their costs, I can send people to surgery centers, to radiology centers that give a discount for cash-paying patients, and it can be up to a third cheaper, 2/3 cheaper, to not have the insurance company be the middleman. They are skimming money off the top, and they demonize the doctors in the process if we're making the money. We're not. And so when they made that whole pronouncement about how doctors send you for tests and they're making money off of them, that's completely untrue. It doesn't happen that way. We actually only get paid for what we do, not for sending you for labs or for workups or for x-rays. That's not how the system works. But what we can do is to keep the price low by getting rid of people who jack up the price and skim off the top. Most single practices and private concerns realize now that if they just make a deal with the patient, get rid of all the bureaucracy, they can actually make money. I can send people to urgent cares here in Atlanta with $135 flat fee to see a board-certified ER doctor, and from soup to nuts, time you walk in to the time you leave, one fee. And they're excellent. They give you excellent care. You don't wait. You're seeing board-certified doctors, not PAs, and the system is better. We're now morphing into a system where if you pay for it, you're getting better care than if you go through the insurance or the government to get your health care. That's reality.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you find it ironic that that what's happened is in response to all the government meddling and intervention in the system, that there's been a free market backlash effectively? I mean, that's kind of ironic.
It is ironic, but thank God it exists. And I'm not a big fan of let someone take care of me. And if you wait for the Congress to help you, it's never going to happen. We can see that that's not going to happen. So my mantra now is to handle your business, take your power back, and start becoming a real consumer, because there are options that you have no idea are out there. There's health sharing ministries like libertyhealthshare.org, metashare.org. The Self-Pay Patient is a website that's an excellent resource. And I now know, as a consumer myself, that I can actually join a health sharing ministry, go to any doctor I want, pay $199 per month with an out-of-pocket maximum of $500 with $1 million per occurrence amount of money that I can access per year. That's a heck of a lot better than Obamacare. And they're not going to deny me care. They're going to help me. That's where people should go. That's where they should put their money. And with the health sharing ministry, it's under Obamacare's auspices. So it's a carve-out. You're not going to be dinged with any kind of fee. You're not going to be fined because you're actually following the law, which is really awesome. Talk about using something that's supposed to be working against you in your favor. That's how I would play this game.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I love that concept, and it's enough to make me become a born-again Christian and see the light of God in this whole mess. And, you know, it just amazes me, the mess that the government created, and they're going to use that as the justification for them to say, this thing's a mess. You see, the free market doesn't work. Private industry doesn't work. We need more power over your life to help straighten this out. And yet I really do believe that the public is onto this scam, or at least a large portion of the public's onto it. You see it in the poll numbers now, where people see that the scam, you're seeing it, people are rejecting it out of hand. They know that they want an end to this Obamacare nonsense. You know, they want it done with, right? Absolutely.
And I think that people need to be smart and savvy at this point. It's not capitalism that's causing the problem. It's cronyism that's causing the problem. And it's fascism. So we have the government in bed with various insurance companies and big corporations, pharmaceutical industry. They are driving this train, and they're picking winners and losers, and they're trying to make it sound like capitalism is the reason that everything is going askew. It's not. The free market it's an egalitarian system. It's in my interest to make my services as reasonable as possible and to offer the best care, because I want business, and I'm going to make sure that I do what I say I'm going to do. When you start accessing the government, you've got insurance companies in bed with the pharmaceutical industry, with, PBMs, with the pharmacy benefit management companies, where they get to decide what the formulary is this month. It's all about money changing hands and the patient and the doctor being victimized by it and the government sanctioning it. People need to wake up and see really what's going on. It's not about healthcare, it's about control. And the only way that you can get your control back is to take it back. And everything that I just spoke about before is ways that you can do it, play the game, not have to pay anything extra, and actually win. I mean, where does that ever happen in this country anymore, right?
Yep, that's what it's about. Take back your power, take control and responsibility for your health. And so much of what's going wrong in your life, especially in later, the older you get, is directly attributable to your diet and your lifestyle. And you can easily just lose the weight, exercise, and you won't need the drugs. You won't need the medical care, right?
I absolutely agree with that. This system is bigger than doctors and patients at this point. It's running on its own. I don't know if you heard this, but yesterday they changed what the normal blood pressure rate was. It went to 150 over 80 for people over 60.
Really?
65, yes, believe it or not. So, it's the corporate interests that are driving what normal is. I remember it went down to 120 over 80, and anybody there was considered to be pre-hypertensive. It's a scam to make you need medication, So it's about finding a doctor, really, that's about patient care and who practices with their Hippocratic oath as the premier part of their practice. I'm a thinking doctor. There are plenty more like me out there. If people were to go to American Association of Physicians, AAPSonline.org, they'll see a myriad of doctors across the country who actually care about patients, not making a buck, not playing this game, and actually becoming a resource again for their patient care. That's what we people need to be. And as consumers, people have more power than they think. If they stop, eating GMO food and actually start going to organic, the price would come down. We drive this by our choices. And as long as we let someone take our control, then we're going to be victims of the system in every way. And you're right. What you eat and exercising is one of the major things you can do to help yourself. I have no interest in entering a healthcare system, and I'm a doctor saying that, but Obamacare is not about healthcare. Stay healthy, trust me.
Hey, and I just recently had a stress test. I dreaded doing it. I was sure I was going to have blocked arteries and need a stent. And amazingly enough, doctor said, you got a heart that's in perfect condition, really heart that belongs to somebody many years younger than yourself. And I attribute it to the fact that not my diet, but exercise for the past 30 years that I've been doing. I didn't really exercise anywhere near the amount I could have or should have, but just moderate exercise 2-3 times a week, past 30 years. It kept my heart young, in spite of the fact I had the most horrible diet, Dr. George. But just that one factor wasn't my heredity, bad heredity, and just moderate exercise 2 to 3 times a week. And I walked a lot, always walked, always opted for walking instead of public transportation wherever possible. And that did it, because there's nothing else that I can explain it with. High stress lifestyle, that's the other factor that will kill you and put you in an early grave. And somehow it worked. And can't emphasize that enough. Not being a doctor, I can't really come up with any other explanations. I mean, I ate red meat 3 times a week and pizza and just the most god-awful foods that you can imagine. now I'm eating healthier and maintaining the exercise because I came to the conclusion, my goodness, I might just live well into my 80s or 90s, and what's going to happen then if my body really isn't in good condition, and yet I live to that age in a bad lifestyle and bad quality of life? I'm going to be really unhappy. And that's what's happening to Americans, right?
I think the choices that people are making are the wrong ones overall. I mean, you don't have to be a monk about it, but I think you're right. Small little changes, exercising, and you don't even have to do an hour a day. Studies have shown 7 minutes, actually, of really hardcore cardiovascular activity, weightlifting, makes a difference. It's equal to working out an hour of heavy-duty training. That's a small thing, a small time commitment, but it makes a big difference. You know, getting fluoride out of your diet, actually eating organic food instead of fast food. You know, you can have it as a treat here or there, but I wouldn't take it all the time. Cooking instead of nuking stuff, all that stuff makes a difference. It's an investment. And little investments have big payoffs. You're an example of that. Yeah,
absolutely. Just give us that site again that you were talking about, the physician site.
It's AAPS, AAPSonline.org. That's the place where a lot of independent doctors have joined. It's like the real American Physician Association, not the AMA. And libertyhealthshare.org. Although it's considered to be a ministry, it's not Christian. It actually is a libertarian. People who are individual-like mindset can go. So you don't have to be religious. You just have to want to take your power back, basically. Metashare.org is a Christian sharing ministry. But I think the best catch-all would be the selfpaypatient.com. That's a place that it's like a clearinghouse for everybody who wants to try to use every strategy in their arsenal to get excellent health care and not be gouged for the process.
So that's the self-pay patient.
Mm-hmm.
Self-pay patient. I'm just bringing it up. Selfpaypatient.org. Okay.
I think it's .com.
.com. All right. We'll find that one, and we'll try to get links onto the show notes for all this. And, of course, you got to give us your site again, too.
Sure. My blog is Dr. Elaina, Elaina, George.com. And my radio show is Medicine on Call, which is actually on Liberty Express Radio on Sundays at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So I actually did a recent show with the owner of Liberty Health Share, excellent show, and the Self-Pay Patient, the CEO of that. So both of those are excellent resource shows that you can actually really learn, and to me it was empowering. I'm looking forward to not only doing it myself, but giving it as every patient that walks in my door needs to know about this.
Hey, and of course, we'll have links on the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Don't forget, we're having the Liberty Mastermind Symposium again in Las Vegas, February 21, 22nd. LibertyMastermind.us. Go there, sign up. We're going to have Wayne Allen Root. He's going to be the featured speaker there, as well as David Morgan, myself. Alan Butler will be there. So many others. You don't want to miss it. Dr. George, can't thank you enough for being on. You're really an inspiration for what's turning out to be complete chaos. You're a voice of reason that really stands out. And thanks so much for being on.
Oh, it's an honor. And Merry Christmas to you.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and any other politically incorrect terms you can think of. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. What happens if the collapse never really comes? You need income, and Jason Hartman can help you get it. He's helped thousands of people realize their dreams of financial independence through real estate investing, and now he's got an unbeatable offer for you. He's offering my ebook, Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver Too, for free. Just visit jasonhartman.com/Lutz. The first 100 Financial Survival Network listeners will get the book free. Remember, you can't afford to put all your eggs in one basket. Real estate should be part of a balanced investment portfolio along with gold and silver. Just go to jasonhartman.com/Lutz and sign up today. When it comes to real estate investing, Jason Hartman is the only person we trust on the Financial Survival Network. So make your money work as hard as you do by building an income property empire. Real estate is America's proven investment. Go to www.jasonhartman.com/Lutz and get your free ebook today. That's Jason, HARTMAN.com/Lutz. That's Jason, HARTMAN.com/Lutz. Jason knows how to help you retire with a portfolio of income-producing property. Go to jasonhartman.com/Lutz. Summer is almost over, and so far we've really lucked out. No hurricanes. And living in Florida here, I'm extremely grateful, but that could change tomorrow. And look, we're about to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Superstorm Hurricane Sandy. Do you remember that one? Not very many people in the Mid-Atlantic or the New York area region were prepared for it. But if you had PrepareWise emergency preparedness food, you were ready. If you'd prepared with PrepareWise water and the basics, some currency and a means of self-defense, you weren't caught off guard. And if you weren't prepared then, please learn from it and get prepared now with PrepareWise emergency preparedness food. It always pays to prepare. Go to preparewise.com, use the code Lutz. You'll get great savings. Depending on the size of your order, you're going to get a whole lot more. Be prepared. Don't be caught waiting for the government to come and save you. Preparewise.com. Use the code Lutz, L-U-T-Z. Be prepared.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.